Okay, people. So I am joined today not by just one or two, but I got three, three of the talented individuals behind the girl in the back seat. We have director Nick Laurant.
Hey,
We've got co-writers and co-stars, right? Kika Magalhães.
Hi,
I apologize. I feel I butchered that.
it's okay. Happens all the time.
Okay. And and Chris
Marrone, yeah.
Marrone.
Yeah. Thank you
God
for having
damn
us,
it.
Kevin.
One for free.
thank you.
Yeah.
Hey, yeah, no, this is great. Thank you for giving me your time. I really appreciate
Absolutely.
that.
Thank you for having
Thank
me.
you for having
Yes,
us.
thank you.
Yeah. When I, got sent through all these films to look at, right? You look at the titles to see if you could, guess what it might be about. Go in the back seat. I didn't know it was gonna be this. Didn't
Mm,
know it was gonna be this. It was
okay.
like, oh shit, this is darker. This is
Yeah.
darker than maybe what I mean for this moment in time. But
I'm
yo,
curious. What was your first premonition when you read the title? What
I
were you?
I thought, yeah, go in the back seat might refer to like it might be a relationship or a drama flick, and
Yeah.
the girl in the back seat being someone whose opinions aren't taken seriously, right? So it's
Mm,
a story about someone finding their place in the world, taking charge of life, not letting people control them.
Yeah.
So I was
Did
very
It's
wrong.
about
you
that.
yeah.
also get to see the poster prior, or did you just kind of find the
No,
title
no,
and
no.
oh,
Well,
awesome.
I mean, in a way, that is kind of what it's
Yeah,
about.
it kind of is.
Well, yeah, no, actually, yeah. You think about that, Sophia does take charge of her life
Yeah.
over
Yeah.
the course of this film
Yeah.
in yeah, a very big way.
Yeah.
She has to, yeah, take
Of
that
course.
control back, definitely. So yeah, there's definitely an aspect I think of someone being, more proverbially put in the back seat, as
Yeah.
well in the
Yeah.
situation. I mean, probably one of the most extreme versions of that you could find,
And the title is
and literal
multi-layered
versions.
for that reason too. When we decided on that title,
Yeah.
it's a lot of it is that, and then it's also sometimes you just be driving down the street and you don't know who the girl in the back seat of that car is and what they
Mm.
might be going through, and that can work for any person, of course, in that kind of situation. But
Yeah, it was
that same
because
way,
like how like you were describing it, like she didn't have control of her life, like she was like wherever someone else is taking her. But it's also because at a while ago there was this website called Backstage that was like some sort of like
back
Craigslist
page,
Backpage,
back
yeah.
page.
Um
Mm,
a lot of trafficking happening in that website. It was like taken
Oh,
down because of that too.
right,
So like
right.
backseat, back
Page.
mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
not backstage, backpage.
Yeah.
Backstage is a cool website for actors.
For
So
actors,
like,
no actors, yeah.
no,
Yeah,
no
a lot of
relation.
actors are like,
No
oh fuck,
relation.
what am
Okay,
I
now we're
on?
gonna be sued by backstage or something.
Now it says that it's inspired by a true story,
True
and I
events,
think
yeah.
yeah, true events. So when you see that, it's always like, okay, how much is taken
Mm.
from actual reality? How much has been, created to make a film kind of run in a certain way? So
Yeah.
yeah, how did this come to you?
Well, so the whole based by true events is because
Inspired.
inspired by true events is that we made a lot of research on human trafficking. I personally spent a lot of time watching like everything that I could find about human trafficking, documentaries, testimonies. I talked with some people that were trafficked. I talked with police enforcement that were just uh, based on like finding trafficking victims. And I have a friend who was trafficked here in LA. So all the movie is like a compilation of like the most like compelling stories that I've heard from all of those. So like little moments here, like little moments
Interwoven into
there,
Sophia's journey.
which
Right,
put them
right.
all together into the film.
And
Oh,
it's tough
Yeah.
too with the subject matter because a lot of films will go in two directions with it. They'll go too much where it's like a documentary almost, and then they'll go too much where it's like taken and it doesn't actually
mm,
treat it with the seriousness and the sensitive nature that it should. And I feel like what I'm proud most of on this film in terms of like the execution is I feel like we found a way to blend both the elements of a typical thriller narrative and interweaving those true stories and true events into her journey. So it fulfills that, that balance. And that is something that we thought the whole time through from beginning to end was extremely important, because there are many victims on the side of this subject matter that you think about them the entire time while you're making this film, and you're trying to make sure that this narrative has that delicate nature that it should have when you're focusing the lens on this.
Yeah, I definitely thought that was something that did stand out. The fact that you showed there was this process, right? There's a lot of times someone gets snatched and then, so like you hit, there's an auction and then someone's going on this mission like Liam Neeson to get them back, right? And so we don't see how everything is so interwoven. Like they'll have the police on their books, they'll have like motel people on there, so many people, and it has to be that for this to work. This can't work with just one person solo going, I'm gonna take some people. No, it's this elaborate interwoven system, and I like the fact that you showed that.
Thank you.
That's awesome. Thank you for addressing that. That was hearing that, when you make a film like this, or make a film in general, and you have these boxes that you want to check as a filmmaker, hearing that is just awesome. Great. It's to one viewer at least that came across and stuck and impacted.
We wanted the movie to be realistic, because like as with Taken, like it's just, like the guy comes and saves the girl, and in real life that doesn't happen.
No.
So we wanted to make justice for girls, and not only girls are trafficked, all sorts of people are trafficked. Like we wanted the movie to be for them and to make justice for them, that they could watch the movie and be like, oh wow, like this, it actually is like that. Like this actually happened to me.
Yeah. I think the other film that really went deep and it was dark and it really showed just a true kind of seemed a true side of things. There was this Polish film in 2021, I think it was, called Small World. And this guy's daughter was taken. And like in Liam Neeson, he gets her back in like, what is it, a day or something ridiculous like that. Yeah. But in this one, there's moments when it looks like he's close, but I think in total, it took 15 years, 20 years.
Wow.
Right? His daughter was taken when she was, I think, like 3. And when we see her next, she's like, 20s or something.
Wow.
So it was just brutal. It was one of those films that is so you only watch it once, but it was very well done. It was so well done, but oh god,
Small World.
Check it out.
I gotta check that out.
No,
it's definitely dark subject matter, and we've all been immersed in it for about 3 years now, and maybe the next film will be something a little bit lighter, but it's been a good story to tell. We feel like even though it is a very dark subject matter, it's like more people should be telling these kinds of stories. And so, at least it's not just about a bunch of people getting like chopped up or something, like there's actually like something true there. And like it's finding this like real horror in real life, as opposed to just trying to find something paranormal or made up, for lack of a better term. Like this is real stuff. So like, why can't life be? Yeah, I mean, life is just as scary as anything paranormal, and hopefully this will show that. So,
Well, it's the nuance in the characters as well, right? Because, I mean, Ryan's a piece of shit.
Yes.
But it's not as simple as Ryan's just a piece of shit, right? There's this gray area there. Like, hurt people, and we can see that shit has happened to Ryan, right? Then you look at Bella, who Jasmine does an incredible job playing that character. But we see like it's oh god, Stockholm
Yeah.
is it Stockholm syndrome?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like a very advanced form of that almost.
Belfast syndrome. What's the name? But yes, Stockholm syndrome. And you can see that she wants to believe everything that Ryan has told her. But then you have other moments where there's this lucidness of her when she's telling Sophia, no, look, do this, you'll survive. This is how you survive. So you can see that she's getting pulled in all of these directions. And it's just, it's heartbreaking. Heartbreaking what happens with her story arc and how she, is trying to survive this.
And that Stockholm syndrome and the whole manipulation is like a technique that traffickers like actually do and use against their victims. They make them feel that they are loved and desired. They give them gifts and
I mean
them.
Yeah, no, totally, Kika. I think like with Bella, it's like we're seeing the most extreme side of this like coping mechanism that a lot of victims in any traumatic situation will develop, and Bella has that.
Yeah.
She has many layers of that going on because it's like for someone who has no real hope of getting out, it's like
maybe Sophia.
How do you convince yourself that this is not all that bad? So
Sophia would end up being like that, if you would have spent more time with them in the warehouse, like she would end up being like that. Who knows?
Yeah. And to your commentary on the gray area, I think that's something else too that we as human beings, we want to look at a situation and say it's black and white, but honestly, the human condition is vastly gray. And for Ryan and his situation and what he went through, there was inspiration on real stories that we had seen from this docu-series on Netflix called Inside the Real Narcos, and listening to these stories of these criminals talk to this individual and share how they got to where they were at. For me, going into that situation, I was impacted by hearing their side. So for Ryan, it was something, as we discussed when creating his character and creating his condition and his situation, that we knew there were real stories that we needed to pull, some sort of gray to weave it in there, because I didn't consider them gray before seeing that docu-series. And it is, like you said, still a piece of shit. And that is the undeniable factor to it. But with Ryan, hopefully a viewer might pull away from that moment and have that sort of extra time thinking about the entire complexity to the situation.
Right. We wanted to make him a human, even though he is shit.
Yeah.
He was once a baby, and babies are always like good. So something in the world made him just become like that.
Yeah, and by the end of the film, you're pretty sure you know what that is. Hopefully everyone. Hopefully Ryan's character does make sense, even though it's a very tragic, sad, and horrible character. I would hope so. And also Bella, like back to what you were saying, just I think one thing looking from the outside on human trafficking is like it's really hard to just define that term, right? Because there's so many facets, there's so many areas where this goes on, and like we're seeing right now with this Andrew Tate thing that's blowing up in the news. Like that is a cam ring kind of thing that they're figuring out, but there was a lot of coercion involved there too. It wasn't like they weren't just like snatching girls like Ryan does, like, and drugging people. I mean, well, maybe, but mostly it was coercion. Like even there's like the promise of making money and the promise of a relationship. Like there's all this stuff that goes on between the trafficker and the victim, and Bella was kind of meant to be the character that's representative of that side, rather than the drugs and duct tape version that Ryan and Sophia that we see there, So
I mean, maybe it started like that with her, maybe in the beginning was like that, like
maybe
not. We don't.
Yeah, it was. I thought it was really good that you used the dating website angle, because I think dating websites are horrible. Like it's the worst, right? And there's so much stuff that could be done to make them better.
Yeah.
You know, a bit like social media. Like if everyone had to use their real name, right? You had to verify your account with some sort of ID, whether it's your passport or something, right? Because not everyone's got a passport, but everyone's got something.
ID.
So if you had to verify it in that way, social media would be better. And I think everyone knows that. But
I never thought about that. That is such a good point.
Yeah. But for some reason, like no company wants to implement it.
No,
right?
They want monies.
Exactly. And with the dating websites, they'll say, okay, these sorts of images for your profile, you fill out your profile, but the amount of profiles, the image could be even someone else. My girlfriend, she said that on one website there was a guy with Ronnie Colbert's image, and it's just like, how are you not picking that stuff up? How is it you're not like screening people with no body of text in the profile? There's so many ways to make people safe, but for whatever reason, companies don't actually want to do the due diligence. So I thought it was really good that you showed the manipulation over that, because we know people use it so much, and you know, a lot of times people use it for hooking up, and they'll go, oh, I'll go to your house, oh yes, we'll meet after no real kind of conversation or a phone call or a video chat.
Crazy.
I think there's almost none. I mean, you're texting with this person through an already filtered, exactly, and then
come
you
to
know,
my house. How do people do that?
It is one of the weirdest things, Kevin. Yeah,
I can't believe it.
It causes that nervous laughter because it's so true.
Like if you're a woman, like would you ever go to someoone's house? Like I might be like, probably
people do it all the time.
After saying this, but it's like, what? Why would you do such a thing?
Yeah. Oh man. Sorry, Nick.
Oh no, I was just gonna say it's interesting to hear you pointing that out, and like, I guess that is maybe one more takeaway from the film is, you know, it was never meant to be a main one, but we definitely it's definitely a kind of it's like a door. You're opening up a door that's right for strangers to manipulate you. So
I mean, look at Tinder Swindler, that documentary on Netflix.
But there's a story going on right now about a guy who has been using dating apps, I believe, to attack women. Or I'll have to confirm. I saw it a long time ago, maybe like a long time ago, being like a month or so. What's time these days? But the story was somebody was using a dating app for this purpose, and this reason was trafficking. Well, not trafficking, but like harming women or trying to abuse them or bring them in and do stuff like this. And some of the victims have been reporting it. Is this like it is easy. So if there was some sort of removal of anonymity, the possibility of anonymity being in these apps, that would be I think that could sell a lot of people on like the feeling of added layer of safety.
Well, we would have protection, but like, you know, do you think that the app will actually want to do that? Because that will they will take accountants from that.
I think
that's a really good point. I've never thought about that.
Well, I just think like it's an important subject to show the actual realities, right? Show that, you know, it's not, oh, someone's going to come save you in a day, right? It's not that. Like, it's brutal. It's horrific. So it's an important story to show, but then also highlight that point of be cautious when you're using, you know, social media, when you're using dating apps. Don't accept a gift, because clearly a gift is there to let someone know who you are. Right? You have to be sensible about those.
Definitely. And we never wanted to make Sophia out as like a dumb person. Like, it wasn't meant to be like, look at this girl who's like making all these mistakes, right? It was meant to, we wanted to keep it like something that, you know, any of us could maybe fall into, you know, talking to this person, this kind of fling online, and And it's something that I think it would be possible for anyone in the audience, you know, like what Sophia goes through. And yes, you know, her friends are cautioning her. But how many times have we all kind of gone against our friends' caution, you know, wiser words, because our heart, you know, was telling us something different. So I think
Well,
we're all just as at risk as Sophia was. You know, despite our best efforts sometimes.
Well, also these traffickers, like they're smart too. Like they target people who can be more vulnerable. You know, like immigrants and like people that they know that they don't have families here. Like if they disappear, it's like harder to like have somebody like look out for them. You know?
Totally.
Oh, yeah, there was probably things in the early conversations about, oh, I feel a bit lonely. All my friends are somewhere else. Then you're like, okay, no support system.
Yeah.
Right.
We can work on that person.
Yeah, and I think, you know, Ryan is targeting those exact women, you know, the ones who don't have a lot of familial connections or support systems, you know, over here. And that's also very true of the reality of it. And I know, Kika, when you were, and Chris, when you guys were writing this thing, that was at the forefront, was that she was always meant to be an immigrant, right? She was always meant to be someone, because the data shows that most or a lot of them are. So, you know, it's representative of that, I think, too.
Yeah.
But,
so when we were writing the character, we were like, wait, like she needs to be an immigrant. Do we know somebody who's like actually an immigrant? Oh yeah, like me.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Like, wow. I didn't even think about that.
What was the research like to do this film?
Well, so like as I was saying, it was a long process. It started in 2016. So basically, I moved here to pursue acting, and I had another film called The Eyes of My Mother that made me come to LA. And you know, I thought I was gonna get so many roles after that. I thought I was gonna be like, wow, offers and offers and offers, and that didn't happen. So I kind of have an epiphany that if I wanted to get like good roles, maybe I should create my own. So that's how the whole thing started, and then somehow I wanted to make something meaningful and important, so I came across this like human traffic subject, and that became some sort of obsession. And it took like maybe like a year or two of just watching everything that I could about human trafficking, talking to people. At some point, I had a Facebook group with like other victims that they will share their stories with me. I don't know how I got in contact with this police officer. Well, I mean, this was a while ago in 2016, but I did talk with this police officer. He was actually the one who told me about that he went and found people in some sort of like suburban home underneath. And that's why we have the scene of the suburban home. Like he told me that it was just a normal house that he went to, like mom cooking soup and grandma's knitting, and underneath there were like people trafficked.
And that's like that's honestly one of the creepiest for me, like moments of the movie is, you know, seeing that house. I mean, I don't want to give too much away, but when you like these little bits that, you know, you guys chose from real life, we're kind of getting that horror show of these real life stories as you sit with, you know, Kika's character in this messed up roller coaster seat, essentially, in the back seat of this car.
I think it's very easy for people to go through life with an illusion of you know, everything's okay, and you can look at a home that you pass by and have no idea what's going on behind that door, those closed windows. And you know, the film is addressing sort of a way to break that illusion a little bit and say we collectively should be more mindful of a lot of these horrors that exist around us that we might be sometimes willfully allowing ourselves to ignore.
Yeah.
And
we do that all the time.
Oh yeah.
Using art.
We do that every day.
Using art as a way to invoke emotion. and let someone pull away from that, and hopefully come away with a new lens on life and the way they look at their
if you think about it, you do that all the time. Like even when you're eating, you know, like we're eating like some piece of meat, and you're like, oh, like this meat actually went through a lot also to be here. We just ignore to think about those things, you know. But that's just another subject.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to finish like the whole part that you were asking, because at some point when I was like doing all that research and stuff, and like I was so obsessed that I needed to make this movie, that I actually met a friend of mine who was trafficked here in Los Angeles. So her story is also a lot in the movie. And
Right.
she was one of those that answered an ad on Backpage. And she spent 3 months in a house in LA, just doing crazy, insane stuff.
Yeah.
So this movie is for her too.
No, I think a lot of people will see this, and it will open their eyes to the realities of what this is, you know, or just a part of what this is, because, you know, as you mentioned at the start, right, human trafficking encompasses so many different kind of things, right? Sometimes it's the workers in a nail shop or a beauty salon, you know. It could be the cleaning staff in a office building, like in a restaurant. There's so
I believe the statistic is more of it is labor. The majority of it is labor trafficking. And then it goes into sex trafficking, and then another form like other
organs.
But the labor one is the largest, and the one that is most likely you're seeing it on a daily basis and not even aware of it.
Yeah.
Which is really scary to think about, that there's basically modern slavery still existing right under our noses, and like literally all around us, and we don't, because it's such a gray area, no one can really, you know, point at it and be like, that's trafficking. But it is.
Which was one of the reasons why we wanted the movie to take place in LA, because people always think human trafficking, that always happens like far away from here. It's like, no, my friend was trafficked here in Los Angeles. So
that I think that's the big thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
So how did, like, so you decided you wanted to tell this story. So how did you all get together? How did you all meet and work out, okay, we can work together, we can write together? You know, these people have this same kind of vision to tell a story in this nature.
That's a really good question. I love these questions. I feel like I'm on hot ones because you're asking really good stuff. Like, I'll start with that, because I started the whole thing, and for a long time I didn't even know these guys. So I was just like on my own making the story. I was like in LA thinking that it was going to be that easy, that I was just going to DM like Ashton Kutcher or something, because he had like a trafficking organization, and then he was like, oh my god, you have a movie you want to make, like, let's do it. I thought it was going to be that easy. So I was like struggling so much, and I also was so obsessed about it. And at some point I actually got lucky. I found people who wanted to make the movie, but then it all fell through. And then I found somebody else that fell through. And then I found this producer guy who wanted to change the whole story. And then at some point I met Chris. And at that point I was like, okay, I don't care about this anymore. And he was the one who was like, I think you should like keep pursuing it. And I think he offered to write the screenplay. So I was like, okay, like that sounds great. And he wrote the screenplay, and I loved it. I was like, wow, this is amazing. It's so good. And then it was the two of us trying to get the movie done, and then almost get it done. It fell through, always like that. And then pandemic time, we're all stuck in our houses. We don't even think about this movie. We're like, whatever. We just want to survive COVID. And then Nick just comes in and he's like, hey, I want to make a movie. Didn't you guys have something cool about like 2 actors in a car, easy to make, human trafficking? And we were like, what, this again? Okay, yeah, you can read it. And then he read it, and we start pre-production.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of
Like,
like I feel like it was the perfect movie to make during the pandemic, but also the perfect like first film for us, you guys as actors and new producers, me as a first time feature director, you know, trying to like how can I sink my teeth into something a bit bigger than a short film or a YouTube thing. So yeah, I mean, Chris and I met through a mutual friend, filmmaking friend, and we'd been developing a couple projects that just for fun, kind of, you know, nothing set in stone. But you know, after a year and a half of the pandemic, we were just like, I think everyone was a little bit just itchy to do something. It's hard to put ourselves in that mindset now, honestly, like because we've been working on it for so long. But we were all kind of bored. We were like, we just need to do something, and it was like
the pandemic. It wasn't a year and a half. It was like August of 2020 that you came.
Thank you for yeah. I need. It's a bit of a blur sometimes, but yeah.
Oh, I
No, it was.
remember it all.
Oh man. No, I think it wasn't just like it wasn't just a movie in a car with two people though that drew me to that concept. It was, you know, you have all these awesome set pieces along the way, and you also have this really complex relationship. So I feel like, you know, though it is a really intense road trip movie, and you know that does appeal as a producer with no budget. You're like, okay, that definitely makes things easier a bit. Not that car stuff is easy. That's a whole other discussion. That's actually probably something that people take for granted. But no, I think it was the perfect film to make during the pandemic, and with just three people making it.
Okay. Now, Chris, what made you think you could write this screenplay? Right? Because, you know, like attempting a screenplay, you imagine that's going to be a tough thing, but dealing with this kind of subject matter, and so having to get the voices of all of these so diverse characters, and these are crazy diverse voices in these horrible situations. So what made you think I can do that?
Well, being passenger to Kika's attempts to get the film done, because while we were living together, I was sort of in a mindset of like, you should make the movie that you originally had in mind. And many people wanted to take it in a different direction.
Right, that producer guy.
Yeah, and that was something that continued. Like when you sit and you see a really good idea and you kind of see that element, too many cooks in the kitchen. I told her that day that she came back from that, and she was just like, I don't feel, you know, I can do this. I was like, well, you should tell this story that you wanted to tell, because I think it's worth it. And then she looked at me and she was just like, well, would you write it? And I was like, I need to sleep on that for a minute. I was interested right away, of course, but you know, I was like, that's like you said, it's a daunting task to take. And I've written other features before and shorts and stuff that I got made, but nothing to that, you know, level. So I sat with her initial treatment, and then we really just started to, it was like, you know, every day at home, we would just be spending time getting through some of the story elements that we had talked about that she felt weren't there and needed to be there. And we had, you know, fleshed out Ryan's character even more, and then added Mom's character in there, which is a funny story about Mom's character. When I began to write that and come up with her being as this overarching, person that is, you know, the spider of this web, so to speak. So yeah, I felt like I was at a point, I was like, I could do this. I was confident in myself enough, and I was like, yeah, I'll write it. And I remember sitting down, and it took me for the first draft, 4 days? Yeah. 4 days. I just was writing and got it done. And then I think you were sitting over on the couch, and I was like, I did it. And she's like, what? And I was like, it's done. And my last day was like 60 pages just going to it. And I just remember thinking that all of these elements of each character, Ryan's character, Bella's character, Sophia's character, mom, everyone. I feel like in one place or another in my life, watching documentaries or seeing other films, reading books, there were elements to pull from characters that had gone through these kind of experiences. The mom character for me was the most intimidating to write, because I was sort of just going, I think this would be the case with an individual like this based on the research that I have, but this is very much the most like unknown aspect of it. And then
well, that was because like, so when I wrote the treatment, like I knew exactly the movie, but I just couldn't figure it out the end. I didn't know what was going to happen. Like I had other endings, but I was like, I don't like these. Like, so the whole mom thing, like he came up with the whole mom thing. So when I read it the first time, I was like, I don't know if I believe this. It sounds so unreal. Like I can't believe that someone would be like this.
But
And
she's
then,
so villainous, right? She's
yeah,
such like a like your A-type villain almost.
right. And then the whole Epstein thing came out, and we were like, oh my God.
It was weird. It was
So
so weird.
maybe this is actually really, really realistic.
Yeah.
And then we left it in there.
Yeah, we left it as is. It was really interesting how to have that, sit with that, be talking about it, and then a real life event kind of come out that has elements be there.
And for some weird reason, when we were auditioning people and Ellen Day came in, she plays mom. She like blew us away. We were like, that's the one. And for some reason, she actually looks like, what was that woman's name?
Maxwell.
Yeah. Like, wow, she kind of look alike.
Yeah, there's definitely.
So we were like, wow, that's the one.
I will say something that I thought was really something I enjoyed most about writing the film with and I think this is interesting, and I think a lot of male writers need to take this into consideration, is the sex of the person should not matter. It should be the emotion that they feel and the mindset that they have. Everything else is an avatar. Now, the sex matters based on life experience, of course. But for example, when I was writing Sophia, I wasn't thinking, from what's a male perspective on this situation. I was like, if a human being, no matter who they are in this situation, how would they handle that and determine that? And some of the initial response when writing it and passing the script around was that it felt like, she didn't feel like your stereotypical female character in a movie. And that was something that these initial writers that I had sent it to, the female ones that I had passed it along to, they commented on that right away. They were like, this is kind of the first time I've seen a guy write for this. And I said, yeah, well, I wasn't thinking about it in that way. Like I was just trying to, insert a non-avatar, just emotional human being going through this and trying to reason through their situation with whatever logic they possibly could have, and remove the typical, it's going to be, a brute force approach. Sophia is in a different situation. So that requires an alternate way of figuring your way out, if there is one.
Yeah, I have to say, a scene that I thought was really powerful and worked so well was when you're on the road, right? You're at the crossroad, and then the pickup truck stops and the guy gets out. And there's that whole conversation. And it's just like, you've got to make choices. I know what mine is. And we don't see anything. But we then see Sophia's face, and there's that tear, that single tear coming down, and you're just like, oh, what happened. So, but we don't need a noise, we don't need words. It's just in the expression. You're just like, oh, God damn it.
I'm really glad that came through for you, Kevin. I'm glad that told the story that it apparently it did, because that was that scene was a hard one to execute. We actually did shoot the full scene, and then the first edits of the movie, you do, the gunshot goes off and you see it all, but for multiple reasons, decided to take the less is more approach and like try to just tell that story with those images, and maybe it would be more powerful that way. So
The emotion
hits you, definitely hits you.
Yeah, and then later in the film you do get a little bit more confirmation of maybe what happened there, but I don't think it that's more as a for Ryan. It's not I think the audience already kind of knows what happened at that point.
Ryan and Sophia, because she needed that.
Yeah. And something too about that, the Jeffrey Moore, who played the Good Samaritan that you're referring to, really brought wonderful layer to that character that we thought was important. Saying that is awesome, and that's also another one of those moments of the there are people out there that might make the right choice in situations and be in the right place at the right time and still have an outcome that we, I think, collectively wouldn't want to see be the outcome.
Yes.
It's kind of
life isn't fair. Nothing you can do.
Yeah. I hope that, we feel that Ryan in that scene as he's listening to Jeffrey say his lines there, that, we're seeing, I think in that scene, it's really sad because Ryan knows, like, he wants to listen to the guy, and he knows, like, I'm just as much probably in that back seat as she is right now. I have no choice in my mind, in my context as Ryan, than to do what I have to do right now. And he knows that, and he's probably been there before, and I think you can see that in, like, the tears that are welling up in his eyes, which makes it all the more unsettling, I think, with what happens. So, yeah, Chris, good job on that one, man. you really made that one come through. So
it's a layered scene.
Yeah. It's a tough place to put yourself in emotionally as an actor, and to channel that. It's not easy.
Well, I think the thing with this film, it is dealing with tough subjects. So I think when you're making this, or even just the Kika, you started this in 2016, right? So just the whole production process, not even just the actual filming the scenes, but how do you cope with this? How do you manage for it not to fully consume you in a detrimental way? Was there things that you put in place for yourselves and then the actors who were also involved? Like, what did you do? Because I can imagine, because watching it, you're like, yo, this was so good, but god damn it, you know what I mean? It's just like, I need to watch some comedy or something right now, because that was just so how like at the end of the day it must be brutal. So how did you cope?
Well, I think that, like, of course it's extremely sad to work on something like this, but we were also very happy to be together, to hang, make a movie. This is like something that we all wanted to make. We were during COVID, so we were all really excited to be out of our houses. But not just that, we had a really good support system on set. Like, all of the people, all of our cast and crew were somehow friends. Like, we would all of our, like, I would have a friend who would want to work. Nick would have a friend of a friend or something like that. So it was just like a really, really big family all working together. And we were just all there for each other.
Yeah, it was the right recipe of every human being that helped make this film a reality, coming at it, understanding the story that we were trying to tell, and knowing that, in between the takes, there was an element of, where is levity? How do we step away from the subject matter? It's necessary, and you kind of know. And then when it's ready and the lights are on, and the camera's ready to roll, you get back into it. I luckily was constantly in a state of stress producing, and that I could just channel that energy.
Oh yeah, that probably came in clutch for your character.
Yeah, that I could channel into the character. So that ended up being
and also, like, we're not like Jared Leto, who has to become the character, you know. We're more
Method
like
acting,
lighthearted actors. Like, we live the scene, we do the scene, we do as much as we can in the scene, but then after, we're like telling jokes, eating cake,
I feel like you have to.
drinking Coke. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I mean, we tried to keep it as light as we could on set without interfering with obviously the tone of the scene, you know, and because I mean, it's one thing to be, you know, goofing around after the shot, but you know, when we're in these intense moments, I think there was a general seriousness on set. I mean, the confrontation between Ryan and Bella, you know, what happens in that scene, that day sucked. That day sucked for everyone on set. It was, I mean, especially, gosh, Jasmine, that was such a hard day for Jasmine. I remember it was really hard for her to do multiple takes, so we really tried to rehearse it well and not go 100% on the rehearsals. You know, we were going to save everything for the like 2 takes that we did of that whole moment. And I don't want to give away what happens, but it's one of the most intense scenes in the film. And there's a series of events, like one after another, that is just like, you're just getting hit over the head with this stuff. And I mean, I don't think there was one dry eye on set when that actually went down. And that's with all the layers of filmmaking that removes you from the actual, you know, that tends to remove you as a crew member from the motion of the scene. When you're looking at everything so analytically, breaking every little element down, sometimes it's hard to realize there's a murder happening, you know, and that's actually a very serious thing because you're just looking at it from how do we get our shot.
Yeah.
But, you know, I mean, when the camera's rolling, I don't think anyone during that moment could stay removed because it was just like you're really witnessing this happen. And I hope that comes through in the right way for the audience. But
it's a terrible scene. And then also, I think the big thing about that scene as well, it's a bit like Sophia kind of coaxes it in a way, you know what I mean, not like with the knowledge of that will be the outcome, but it's like pushing something to try and, you know, creating a situation where, you know, you could maybe get away or do something. And so knowing then that has caused this, you're just like, oh, at the end of that, it's just like, oh man.
Yeah, I really think there is a difficult, I mean, no one's perfect, right? And I think Sophia, as she's just stuck in the backseat throughout the film, she realizes the only way she's going to get out, obviously, is through these mental games and like how she can manipulate what she has to work with. And she's stuck literally in the middle of this very odd relationship between Ryan and Bella, and that's what she has to work with. And you know, with just maybe the right words at the right time, I think she figures maybe I can blow up the thin veneer of cognitive dissonance that Bella maintains, you know, to get through her day. And also Ryan, you know, and because it's a two-sided thing, right? Ryan's playing his story to her, and she's kind of going along with it in a way. But yeah, I mean, Sophia, I think I would probably have done the same thing, you know, like you need to create diversions and you know, try to upset the natural order of things in order to create escape opportunities. And what ended up happening just makes things way worse, you know. But that's, I think, part of it. That's part of like, you have all these things that are just waiting to blow up in your face, and it just takes the right trigger. So
yeah. I mean,
it's a delicate balance.
Yeah, Nick, like being the first feature film, what were the thoughts about making this? And at the end of it, like, were your fears, concerns, were they actually the things that became the most difficult challenges of the film? Or was it just like, oh, I wasn't even thinking about that, or trying to do this scene?
Deliverables.
Oh man, well yeah, it's honestly this whole thing, it's been about 3 years now, and we've all been, you know, learning how to produce a film on the business side as well as the show side, you know. So there's been so many, I mean, I think, let me just think, my biggest fear obviously was, you know, how is it going to work once we get everyone on set, because we never really met all the crew and stuff. And I remember just as a director, like having the worst pre-shooting kind of like, you know, anxiety about that. And then the first day we get on set and the first scene, it's like that completely went away. It was just, it was crazy how much once we got on set and like we shot a day, and it was like this team is amazing. I have nothing to worry about. I literally have nothing to worry about. It was very I just remember that moment, like that night. I was just like, oh man, there's other things that I got to work on, but it's not going to be, you know, how I'm working with this crew, because they got me. But I think, I mean, if you're asking about like shortfalls and stuff, I think it's hard for me, Chris, Kika, for any of us to watch this film now and not notice everything wrong with it. For us, you know, everything we can pick it apart, and if we were to make it right now, you know, almost 3 years later, it would be a completely different film. But you can't escape that as a filmmaker. That's one of the lessons we've learned. I mean, you literally can't, and that's kind of one of the I don't want to say tragedies, but it's one of the hardest parts about filmmaking is maintaining some sort of outside perspective on your art, if it can be done. If it can be done. So, you know, hearing from you, Kevin, about, you know, how you observe these scenes from a first time viewer, that's almost as close as we'll ever get to being able to understand how this film actually touches audiences, because we just can't. Like, all we can see now is all the blood, sweat, and tears, and all the things we would have wished we could have done different to make it hit even harder, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, you know, hearing your takeaways is really, really interesting and gratifying. That these you know, gray areas are hitting is really cool. So
Yeah, no, you did a great job. You definitely did a great job, and I think people are gonna take a lot away from this. So yeah, no, congratulations on this you know, first movie and collaboration. Yeah, I'm looking forward to what else you guys do together or individually, and the door is always open if you want to have another conversation, because this has
Absolutely.
been great. I like, there's so many more questions I've got about the process, but it's just like,
okay.
the time, is that the time? It's just like, oh man.
Well, maybe we can do this again and get into some of that stuff.
Future episode.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, I'd love that. I'd love that
Okay.
if you guys have got the time. Yeah, we can definitely do that. But
Hey man, once we deliver this movie, we'll be good. Once we deliver it.
yeah, just
Yeah.
hit me up when you've got a moment, and we'll get
Okay.
talking, man. But just so people know, you know, before we have to duck out, so everyone knows, and you know what I mean, the world premiere, right? The world
Yes.
premiere is
Crazy
at
kid.
Dances with Films, 1st of July, best month of the year. 1st of July, 5 p.m., I believe.
Hey.
Yeah.
There it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're very
Now,
proud of these. We just printed them out.
oh, that's
Yeah.
great. Will you guys be in attendance? Is it going to be a Q&A or anything?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You should come.
we have the opening night
Yeah,
tonight.
come on by.
Yeah, we have.
I mean, I'm
We'll
in London
be
right
there.
now, and the finances probably aren't going to stretch to a flight to
Okay.
California, unfortunately. But you know what I mean? I would have loved to, for sure, because it just be out to see the reaction to this film with a crowd. That's going to be phenomenal.
Yeah.
Can't wait.
We're excited about that opportunity and that chance come July 1st at the Chinese Theater. It's gonna be awesome. Yeah.
Oh, for sure. And people, the ticket link is on the website, so make sure you do that. And also everyone else's socials and other links. So go follow everyone, follow Nick, Chris, Kika, because these talented individuals, we will be seeing their faces so much more in the coming months and years. Trust me.
Aww, that's very kind of you.
Thank you so much. Really
Thank
appreciate
you so much, Kevin.
Thank you for this wonderful interview as
great.
well too. Great questions, and
amazing.
That's always exciting.
We're just missing the hot wings.
Yeah, right.
If you had told me, I would have sorted something out, Kika. I didn't know. I would have provided snacks.
We'll have to come up with our own little food gimmick for our interviews. Yeah. We gotta. We'll hone in on it. We'll hone in on it.
Are you gonna tape your Q&A?
I think so. Yes, we're gonna have a videographer there, so that's hopefully one of the things we'll be trying to film. Yeah.
Tremendous. Yes. No, that I think that's gonna be good footage for you guys to utilize for sure.
Heck yes.
But no, this has been tremendous. It's been fascinating hearing how all of this came together. And as I said, this is such an important subject, and you've covered it in such a way that it isn't just that unrealistic, I've got a set of skills, you know what I mean? It's actually the reality of what could happen, what could lead to someone being taken. Because I remember at the beginning of lockdown, there was a story in the UK. A girl got approached on social media, and it was just like, oh, we think you would be great as a model. Why didn't you come? And so it was at a house. It was at a house. And it was just that she brought a friend along. And her friend was just like, this looks dodgy. I don't think we should go. So they didn't. And then the police found out it was trafficking. So I think people need to see these different ways in which they can get you. So hey, I think what you have done is tremendous.
Thank you so much, Kevin.
Thank you.
Really appreciate your time and allowing us to come on your platform and talk about it.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
It was a privilege to me, man. It was great to hear from you guys. This has been such a great conversation. And I am definitely, honestly, looking forward to seeing what you do next, and I hope you have all the success with this film, and I'm sure you will.
Thank you so much. That's one of the main reasons for us, putting all this effort into making this story was hopefully to be able to tell more like it in the future. So, here's the hoping. So, yeah.
Okay.
That is the plan.
Well, I'm looking forward to those stories, people. All right. You all take care. And
you too.
Thank you so much, Kevin.
Talking again.
Yes, let's do it. All right.
All right.
Bye.
Have a good one. Bye, everyone. Bye.
Bye.